Hello and welcome to another Zozin session. How about that? But you didn't expect that shit to happen. So today we're gonna continue doing the same shit we do every day, developing our epic editor. So let me actually go to the source code of the editor. You can find the source code of the editor here in the description or in the chat if you're watching this stuff live. If you want to watch me live, make sure to follow me on twitch.tv/sodding. And let me go to a master. Right. So I have some changes in here, which are probably irrelevant. So let me reset them hard. Right, so we should reset them hard. Maybe I'm also gonna clean FDX this thing. Alright, so I'm gonna check out the master. Checking out the master and fetching the latest stuff. Merge origin master. Right, and I can remove the branch free type and let's try to rebuild this entire thing. How everyone is doing, by the way. How everyone is doing. This beautiful Sunday. Today's Sunday, the day of the sun. Yeah, so this is the editor that we have. It's hot. It's actually hot in here too. Yeah, so it's kind of like, nah, too much sun on a Sunday. Yeah. So that's basically the text editor that we have in here. And today we're gonna continue developing it. You may notice that there is no cursor in here, and this is because we broke the cursor on the previous session, right? So in the previous session we actually added support for the free type fonts, right? So this is a Victor Mono, as far as I know, right? So this is this font. And we use this font for testing our text editor. So I might as well actually put it in the description as well. So it's gonna be Victor Monov. Victor Monov. Okay, comrade. So, and I think today I'm not gonna make too long of a session, so I'm gonna just basically fix a couple of things that we broke while integrating free type into DED. By the way, DED is the name of the text editor, so it stands for dramatic editor because it's so dramatic, as you can see. It is very, very dramatic. So we broke a couple of things. Primarily a cursor, right, and another thing we broke is the camera. I think camera does not really follow the cursor properly. I think that problem will be visible once we fix the cursor, because then we'll clearly see that the camera is just doing some, you know, weird stuff. So yep, that's basically the plan for the day. Just fix a bunch of shite. Nothing particularly special. Nothing particularly special. So let me go to here. Oh, and by the way, the previous episode where we added the free type integration can be found in here. Previous episode on free type 2 integration. It's not out yet. I think it's gonna be out roughly in 1 hour. I actually scheduled to make this video public. So if you're watching it live right now, so follow the channel where the previous episode is gonna be available. It also was streamed on Twitch, so maybe you watched it on Twitch. So in any case, the thing we integrated is actually pretty cool, because before the free type, we only used bitmap fonts, which didn't really look that great. It was relatively easy to add support for the bitmap fonts, right? So monospace bitmap fonts, like these ones. It was super easy, but at the same time, they're not looking that great, right? So they're very pixelated, they're very old, and we want something, you know, smooth, something more, something with, you know, ligatures and stuff like that, something that makes you feel comfy, right? You know what I'm talking about. When you open your favorite text editor and it just feels like home. That's what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to make a text editor that makes you feel like you're home. So yeah. Hello Deep Singularity, hello Rogue Pram, hello, hello, hello Outbears. Alright, So before we integrated the free type, I think everything looked like so. Do we have like yeah. I don't quite remember. I think I added a special. Yeah, I added a special flag that lets me switch between different renderers, right? So I actually did that off screen. So if I rebuild the entire thing now, it's gonna use the legacy renderer. Right, so in the legacy editor we do have a cursor because it was not broken yet, so this is how it looks like. Right, it looks alright, but at the same time it's just like, what the fuck is this, you know, 8-bit style shit. You know what I'm talking about? 8-bit style shit, so... This is great, you like that? You really like that? Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think so. The camera is actually centered at the cursor, right? So yeah, it moves like a classic typewriter. Yeah, there's something to it. But with the new renderer, right? With the new renderer, it should look even cooler, but there's no cursor, unfortunately. So let me show you. So this is how it looks like now, right? It uses more modern fonts now. Right, so... And that was actually pretty interesting to implement because I never implemented that before. Back in my days, that's right. You can even open the source code of the editor inside of the editor. So here's the source code. You can just, you know, go through this entire thing. And all of the graphics is generated with shaders and stuff like that. So, yep. That's cool. You think it's cool? It's more of like a toy editor, so I don't consider it like to be anything super serious. Yeah, so it's actually super easy to implement. You just have a camera that smoothly follows the cursors at the center. So it's just that's pretty much it. So it's just like a very interesting idea. All right, so I don't design it as like a proper text editor. I design it as like a, I don't know, as like a fun project. You know, how ridiculous can you make this thing? All right, so that's very interesting. Okay, so again, the cursor is broken, and there was also a couple of things that I wanted to show. I think I showed everything I wanted to show. The feature of text editors, yeah. It would be even cooler if we could also zoom in and zoom out, but maybe we can implement it today, I don't know. We'll see. So in a legacy editor, it was actually quite easy to implement the cursor, because the cursor was just like, you know, changing the background of a particular cell, right? But since we switched to a different renderer, we don't really have cells anymore. I can even demonstrate you. Valig0, Valentin, I suppose you're Valentin. Thank you so much for 23 months of a tier 1 subscription. Thank you, and welcome to our epic text editor club. Edit me senpai uvu, says Valentin. Sure, will do. Everything for my subscribers. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I can demonstrate you. So we don't have like a regular size cells anymore, because if I try to do something like so, I'm gonna go in here, and here's where we render the like a single line. And let's go ahead and set the background for each individual glyph in here to white, to see the boundaries of the glyphs. Gia, what's up? Hello. Welcome to the stream. Was it edited in okay. Alright, so, and if I now do something like this, here are the sizes of the glyphs and distances between them. Right, so it's not a regular, you know, regular tiles anymore. And because of that, we cannot use just changing the background of the glyph as a means to indicate the cursor. It doesn't work like that. So we probably need to render the cursor properly, like it's usually done in, you know, text editors, proper text editors. I don't know, maybe something like in Genie or Genie. Yeah, so in like classical normie text editors, there's usually this bar that goes between the glyphs. So maybe we're gonna implement it like this. I think it's gonna be easier. to implement things like that. But to implement such cursor, maybe we'll have to have a separate like renderer specifically to render the bar. It kind of sounds like ridiculous to have a separate renderer, like a separate VAO with a separate shader program and so on and so forth. But then if you think about it, what if you want to support multiple cursors? Right, and you want to render it, you know, correspondingly. Maybe in the future such separate program is going to be used for rendering several cursors. Why not? Makes sense to me. So I think it's going to be worth it. I think it's going to be worth it. So yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Multiple cursors. Yes. So how are we going to... Well, we're not going to support multiple cursors right now, but maybe later in the future, who knows? Who knows what can happen? So let's actually start with maybe developing a shader for the cursor, if you know what I'm talking about, like a shader. So not right now, but tomorrow, of course. So it's going to be cursor vert. Cursor vert. So where are the other vertex shaders we have? So the version of the shader is going to be 3 core. And so in here, we definitely will need to pass the resolution, right? We definitely need the resolution, and we definitely need the camera, right? So this one is going to be vector 2. This one is going to be also vector 2. So since we only have a single cursor in here, maybe we're going to pass the information about the cursor via the uniform as well. So it's going to be cursor position, and so I suppose it would be kind of important to pass the information about cursor height, right? So it's going to be cursor height, and we're going to generate the quad, like a very slim quad, based on these 2 parameters, and then pass it to the fragment shader, and so on and so forth. All right, so in here is going to be void main, something like this. So in here, I suppose we're going to be generating UV coordinates. Then I need to decide what's going to be the proportions of this entire thing, right? So I don't even know what's going to be the thickness of the cursor. What's going to be the height? We already know the height. Okay, maybe I just need to define something like cursor width, right? So this is going to be cursor width, and let's say that is going to be like 10 pixels for now. I don't know. So then I'm taking UV coordinates, and then I'm multiplying it by the size of this entire thing. It's going to be cursor width and the cursor height. And the reason why I want to customize the cursor height is because it will depend on the size of the font, right? So yeah, the size of the font will determine how big the cursor itself is. I think that makes sense. So after we scale the cursor appropriately, we need to move the cursor to the corresponding position, right? So this is where the cursor is going to be located, and there you go. We have the position of the vertex, right? Of a single vertex that we can put into GL position like this. But we also have to turn it into 4-dimensional coordinates. There we go. So we've got the position. So do we need to do anything else? We might as well also pass the UV coordinates to the fragment shader. So it's going to be UV, and that's the whole vertex shader as far as I can tell. I don't see anything else in here. So it's, yeah. Well, not really, because this is in screen coordinates. We need to map it to normalized device coordinates from -1, 1, -1, 1. Okay, so, and we've already done that multiple times in other renderers, right? So project point. So that means I'll have to put it in here, and you just do project point like so, right? Project point like so. Project. So that looks okay. All right, so I think that is 100% it now. So cursor frag version 3.3 core, and in fragment shader, I don't think we're gonna do anything particularly special right now. We can just set the frag color to be white. I don't know, something like this. There we go. So the cursor is gonna be white. So this is the entire shader, right? So it should be at least. Hello, set who? We now need to create some code to initialize this renderer. So how are we gonna call it? Cursor, maybe? Cursor.h. So if not defined, cursor. So here we're probably gonna have only the program, right? So this is gonna be the program. To be fair, it's basically only the program if you think about it. It's basically only the program. Do we need anything else? We don't even need, you know, vertex array object or anything like that. So maybe that's precisely what we're gonna do in here. So cursor init, and we're gonna pass a couple of shaders in here. So vert shader. How is it called in other things? Vert file path. Okay, so this is the vert file path, and this one is gonna be frag file path. There we go. We probably also need to keep track of all of the uniforms, right? So we have quite a few uniforms: resolution, camera, cursor position, and cursor height. So let's go ahead and just put them in here. So resolution uniform, right? So then camera, then the cursor position, and then the cursor height. There we go. So these are all of the uniforms that we'll need. Cursor.c include cursor.h. All right. So what are we gonna do next, I suppose? We need to basically load all of the shaders, compile them, and do all of the other things. So compile shader file. Yeah, so this is how we're going to be initializing all of this thing. I might as well even get the entire thing in here. Right. So and also we probably want to actually accept the cursor by the pointer. Right. So cursor by the pointer. Cursor by the pointer. Random singing, Pepper Paints. Alright, so here's the program. Might as well actually use that one. Right, so this is the program. Then we are doing this thing, cursor. So, oh, do we need a time uniform? We might actually have a time uniform at some point. Is there such a huge delay? Wait a second, it's kind of... Is this really huge delay in my stream? It's actually like, what's the delay of the stream? Because the reaction of the chat is kind of weird. Few seconds, okay. Oh. It's a delay now, I wouldn't say so. Alright, so we have a resolution, a scale, we don't need the scale. Time. I think we do need the time. I think time would be actually quite useful. GL int time uniform. Right. time uniform, resolution, camera uniform, and also cursor position. Well, I mean, it's already a cursor. There's no need to actually prefix it. So maybe we're gonna actually call it something like this. And because of that, I'm gonna go to the vertex shader, right, and just maybe query replace this thing with just the position, and then query replace cursor height with just height, and cursor width with just width, right? So since everything is so localized, these kind of short names don't really pollute any namespaces, so we might as well just, you know, call them like this. Don't see anything wrong with that. Cursor.h. So this is the camera, query replace camera with position, and replace position with the height. There we go. And we initialized everything. We don't really need to do anything in here. So that's pretty much it. I don't really see anything. Unfortunately, I don't really like that it's called cursor, because it makes it sound like it's the cursor that holds the position of the thing. It's in fact a cursor renderer, but I don't want to call it cursor renderer, right, because it's a long name. But I don't really have any other choice, right? Like, how else would you call it? A thing that renders a cursor. How else? You don't have any choice. It's a cursor. So sometimes, like, you may think about the names for things, and it's just like, yeah, it's a thing that renders a cursor. A thing that renders a cursor is a cursor renderer. There's nothing much to say. So, and whether you like it or not, it's gonna be a long name, long as name. Renderer, cursor. Renderer, maybe in that case I can call it CR. CR renderer, renderer CR, query replace cursor CR, so that's a little bit better. And I might as well go though calling it CR is actually a pretty cool idea, right? So I can, whatever, I think I'm spending way too much time on this kind of shit. Where is the free glyph buffer? Here is the free glyph buffer, and we're gonna put the cursor renderer in here, so it's gonna be CR. There we go. So here we have a free glyph buffer that renders the glyphs, free type glyphs. And then we have a render mods. Okay, so what's going to be the next thing? So this is a free glyph, and we need to do the other thing. Cursor, a renderer, init is going to be CR, and we're going to have like a shaders. Cursor renderer.h. It's actually not it's a cursor vert, right? So that's basically what we're doing here, right? Cursor verts, shaders, cursor, frag. So okay, so we initialized everything, and at some point we're gonna just do the rest of the stuff. All right. So this is going to be cursor. Okay, so I updated all of that, and cursor renderer. So it's going to be something like this. Glyph src cursor renderer. So, and we need to include this entire thing. Cursor renderer. So, yeah, we need to have the type for all of the OpenGL thingies that we have in here, right? So, let's put it like that. So what's the next thing? So compile shader, I think all of that is located in the GL extras. Yep. Okay, so this is essentially stdlib. So how are you guys doing? Are you drinking anything right now? I'm drinking water right now, by the way. Coffee, nice. Cool. Lemonade. Are you sure that's lemon? I'm sorry. Drinking the tears of my enemies. Nice. Fortunately, my enemies myself are my country. Sending some hugs. Checking an ice cream in hopes to lower my body temperature because it's hot as fuck in here. Nice. To be fair, I personally don't really like ice creams. Yeah. I'm that one of those weird people who don't like ice cream, yes. And I didn't like ice cream my entire life since I was a child. Yes, I was that weird child who didn't like ice cream. Still don't like it. It's too cold. Unfortunately, when the food is too cold, I don't taste anything. So the ice cream for me tastes like nothing. It's just like it's too cold. Like it actually basically freezes all of my taste buds. So I can't taste anything. I don't understand how people even taste anything when they eat ice cream. So, but it's just like me being weird like that. So, this is just a cold, mushy thing, and okay. Hello, Zelda Sir Twitch. Welcome to the stream. It's just like maybe my biology thingy that just doesn't let me enjoy the ice cream. Just eat room temperature ice cream. Isn't it just cream? Okay. So we have this thing and iceless ice cream. Iceless and creamless. Water cream. So this is the cursor, and we initialize everything. So everything is compiling right now, right? Everything seems to be compiling. At least I think so. Alright, so TGB. Alright, and where do I initialize this thing? Yeah, so the cursor is initialized. The cursor is initialized. Gas cream. Sounds nasty. Okay, so and in FGB, alright, we're gonna be accepting the cursor. Do we really need to accept the cursor renderer, to be fair? Because it's a global shit anyway, so what's the point? Why the hell are we passing it in there? Maybe it's alright. Cursor renderer CR, there we go. And how are we gonna be rendering this entire thing? I suppose we need to do the following thing. Avoid cursor renderer, move to, right, we accept the cursor renderer in here, and we basically move it to a particular position, right? So here is a particular position for the cursor, and then the other thing we can do with this thing is draw the cursor renderer, right? So interestingly, when we move in the cursor, we're not really modifying the cursor renderer itself, right? So I think I can, you know, put a constant here. Yeah, it's kind of strange, like you move in the cursor, but that doesn't modify the cursor renderer, believe it or not, because that's a single call to GL uniform, Right, so yeah, it doesn't really modify, it doesn't really change any of the fields in here. So I might as well actually mark it as const. Right. So, and essentially, as I already said, it's going to be GL uniform to F. And Pawn Theory, thank you so much for 2 months of Twitch Prime subscription. Thank you, and welcome to our epic uniform club, school uniform club. So here's the position uniform, and I'm gonna be just doing something like pose X, pose Y. There we go, and then we need to perform the rendering. So, and how are we gonna be rendering this entire shit? So we need to call school, yeah, school uniform club. GL draw arrays. I think it's draw arrays. So this is gonna be that. It's summer. What school? Summer school. I don't know. Triangle strip. Triangle strip. So the first one is gonna be this one. And how many vertices we want to render? I think we want to render 4 of them. Yeah, we're rendering 4 of them. Summer school. Haha. Haha. So interestingly, now I want to be able to basically rebind the current program and whatnot. So maybe we're gonna introduce for the cursor renderer something like cursor renderer use, which accepts this entire thing, like cursor renderer CR. What's the difference between GL triangles and GL triangle strip? It's a different modes of rendering primitives in OpenGL. So OpenGL actually, basically the only thing that OpenGL does is rendering primitives. Right, so and the primitives OpenGL can handle are, I think, lines and polygons, right, lines and polygons, and it can render them in different modes, right? So essentially you specify a bunch of vertices like so, right? So you specified a bunch of vertices like that, and their order is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? If you specify them in that order and you set the drawing mode in GL triangles, the OpenGL will draw you something like this. So basically in a triangle mode, it will draw you something like 2 triangles in here. So that's basically triangle mode. You supply the amount of vertices divisible by 3, and you get n divided by 3 amount of triangles. Pretty straightforward. So in case of a strip, here's what happens. You provide a bunch of triangles like this. So here's the triangles you provided, and you provided them in this specific order. Right. In a triangle strip mode, OpenGL will draw the following thing. Okay, it will take first 3 vertices like that, right, and then draw you the triangle. Then it will take the next vertex and connect to the previous triangle like this, if I understand correctly, of course. And then it will take the next vertex and connect it to the next thing like so. If you provide more vertices like this, it will keep connecting this thing like that. Roughly, I don't remember specific details, maybe it actually does that in slightly different order, I don't know OpenGL, but that's basically the idea. So, and essentially, if you want to draw a quad, you only need 4 vertices, right, in particular order, 0, 1, 2, 3, and what OpenGL will do, it will just create a triangle that, oh my god, looks like this. And then it will create the second triangle that automatically connects everything together and creates your quad. So I'm trying to render a quad, and I just provide 4 vertices, and I render them in a GL triangle strip mode. So that's basically what's happening. Does it make sense? Does it explain anything? And there are different modes of rendering, as you can see. So there's a mode that renders points, it won't render any triangles. Line strips, line loops, lines, triangle strips, triangle fans, triangles, quad strips, and so on and so forth, polygons. Right, so basically depending on the mode it will just interpret vertices differently. Makes sense? Alright, so let's implement this function. Okay, go. I was using an index buffer object for quads, but it seems much simpler, thank you. To be fair, if you want to just render a single quad, you don't even need any buffers. Believe it or not. You don't even need any buffers. You can basically generate the vertices of the quad on the vertex shader itself, but first of all, I demonstrated that too many times in the stream. Second of all, it requires too much preparation, so I'm not really motivated to show you how to do that. But yeah, there is a way to render a quad without even creating any vertex buffers at all. Seriously, only vertex shader and fragment shader is required. But I'm too unmotivated to show you because it just requires too much explanation, too much setup, and I'm too much focused on the cursor render. Sorry, nothing personal. It's just like, and I've done it like multiple times in the stream already. So motivation doesn't allow me to explain you. I wish I could explain, but just sorry. Okay. But just keep in mind that there is a way to do that, and it's actually pretty cool. And a lot of OpenGL tutorials just won't tell you that. So we're gonna do use. It's gonna be GL use program, CR program, and there we go. So that's the thing you will need in here, I suppose. Well, it's not really magic. It's not something that I want to hide from you. It involves GL vertex ID. Right. So it involves this thing. Right. Right, and I'm gonna put that in the description. And interpreting GL vertex ID bits as coordinates. So yeah, it's actually pretty straightforward. Seriously, it's not something that I want to hide from you. It's just like I'm not really motivated to explain you. I'm really sorry. So basically, you take GL vertex ID and you interpret the bits of GL vertex ID as the coordinates for the quad, and that works. Explanation why it works and how exactly do that and demonstrate the actual example. Sorry, I'm just a little bit busy with something else. Sorry. Okay. It's not a secret. Like people do that all the time. All right. So. I want to be able to actually, switch between the programs as well. So in the free glyph thingy, I'll have to make a function, something like void free glyph buffer use, because I'll need to be able to switch between different renderers, if you know what I mean. So free glyph buffer, FGB, this one is going to be const. And here I'll probably have to just basically rebind VIO and VBO and the program. Right, and here we can also do something like int program. I don't think we keep track of the program anywhere here. And alright, so free glyph init. So here's what we're doing here. So this is the free glyph init. So shader. So the program in here is going to be basically FGB program, and we use FGB program. There we go. And this one is going to be GL bind vertex array FGB VIO bind buffer VBO GL use program FGB program. Right. So basically, I want to be able to switch between different VBOs, like different renders essentially, right? So first I use that one, render what I wanted to render, then I switch to the cursor one and render what I wanted to render there. All right, so that's pretty pow. Now I'm gonna go to here. So, and in here we just update these things. This one is rather interesting. So here's this stuff. So we get the size of the window, and we're just updating the required uniforms and whatnot. But in here we can do something like free glyph buffer. Free glyph buffer use FGB. So we're using this thing, and everything in here is related to using that specific renderer. There we go. So we use it and we don't lose it. Okay, so then cursor renderer use, right? We do use CR. And we will need to probably do the same things, but for a different uniforms, right? So we do need to update. We do need to update the resolution uniform, but for CR, time, and camera. And we need to set the cursor position. So I think for now the cursor position in curse is going to be 0, but the cursor height could be set to something like font. Is it something like free font? I forgot what is it called. Free glyph font size. Yeah, free glyph font size. Font size. There we go. So that's basically what we're updating in here. And in the cursor renderer, well, effectively moving to is, yeah, whatever. Cursor renderer draw CR. There we go. So that's basically it. That is basically it. That is basically it. But the thing is, it's kind of difficult to determine the position of the cursor, if you know what I'm talking about, because it needs to be determined while rendering everything. So while we're going through each individual line and rendering the line, only this like thing can tell us the actual position, right? Yeah. There's no other way for us to know about that, unfortunately. Anyway, let's actually try to do a committee. I mean, compiling. Let's try to compile this thing. Cursor renderer implicit declaration. Okay, so cursor renderer use. Cursor renderer use. Why is it implicit declaration? I'm not quite sure. Renderer. Okay. So CR. There's no out because this thing is a uniform. Okay. How is the editor? Well, on my YouTube channel, I maintain the playlist of all of the editor streams. So I recommend you to go to my YouTube channel, find that playlist in there and watch it, and to stay up to date with the development of the text editor. So yeah, so I do that specifically for you, right? So you don't miss anything on the development of the text editor. You're welcome. All right, so this one is actually gonna be 1, right? See, there's no need to ask me. You can just go and watch it, right? So that's the beauty of the internet. We're living in a very beautiful age of the internet where you just don't have to ask anything. You can just watch, right? It's just like it's available for free for everyone. It's so beautiful. I absolutely love it. Okay, so this is the editor. We also have to provide the this thing, I suppose, but I don't quite remember. So the cursor goes after FGB, right? So it goes after FGB, right? I kind of want to make a cup of tea, by the way. So even though it's a little bit hard in here, I still want to make a cup of tea. because I need a little bit of a caffeine to continue developing this program. Addicted, by the way. Addicted. There's nothing I can do about that. Addiction hits hard. So this one, I think it's GL array buffer. Right, so this is the GL array buffer, that's right. So that's another important thing. Addicted to tea? Not really, I don't think you can get addicted to tea. You can get addicted to caffeine, right? So I don't think you're addicted to tea. You're addicted to caffeine, right? Okay, so the draw, and this one is not even needed actually. That's very interesting. So let's not pass it then. If the function doesn't even need this kind of shit, maybe we don't even have to pass it. Okay. Okay. An addiction so far with no apparent downside. Keep staying in the coping mode, sure. Alright, so is it gonna work now? Let me see. So something went wrong. Okay, so this is gonna be assignment, and so where is my vertex? Is gonna be 18. So yeah, it has to be the out one. Yeah. And then in the fragment one, we not accept it, but I don't think it's that big of a problem. Okay, so it complains about a thing. Height has 2 components, not 1. All right. It should have 1 though. Oh, there we go. So here's our cursor. Isn't that cool? I think it's pretty cool. So we can probably change the size of it. I think 10 pixels is too much. Yeah, now it's a little bit better. But now we need to actually move that cursor to different places, right? Let me see. But before I actually make the cursor movable, I think I need to make a small break. Make a small break and brew a cup of tea. So yeah. All right, we're back. Now we need to try to determine the position of the cursor. Right. It's relatively easy to know the position, like the Y position of the cursor, but not the X one. So let's do something like cursor, renderer, move to, and the place we're going to be moving to is, I suppose it depends on the cursor row, right? So if I take a look at the editor, right, somewhere in the editor, we have cursor row, there we go. So this is going to be the cursor row. CR, V2, vec2f. So X is going to stay 0, but Y is going to be editor cursor row multiplied by free glyph font size. So I suppose this one also has to be converted to float. So that way we gonna move the cursor vertically as well. Right, so it's gonna build sh. Let's see what's gonna happen. Okay, so forgot a semicolon. Let's quickly fix that. Okay. Oh, okay, so it actually goes in an opposite direction because of the coordinate system. Right, so we'll have to do something like this first. We're converting to float, and then we're negating it, and so on and so forth. Okay. Looks good to me. But X is a little bit more difficult to determine, so... So X has to be determined by this function, right? And I don't even know. We need to pass some sort of information about the current column to this function, right? So that's what we need to do. And then somehow we need to receive the precise absolute position of x for the cursor. So somehow we need to do that. So it's going to be freeglyph.h, right? Freeglyph.h. And here is the function we're looking for. So this is going to be freeglyph.c. And I'm going to pass straight up the column in there. So I'm passing the column. And it's going to be a pointer because not for every column you want to do that. Then if the column is actually available and it's equal to I, right? It's equal to I, we need to take the current position x and return it somehow to the final function, right? If that makes any sense. I don't even know how to do that, right? So is it going to be a return? So I just don't want to overcomplicate the signature of this function, but apparently, like, I don't see any other way to do that. Maybe it's going to be a completely separate function, but that means I'll have to iterate the same row 2 times, but at the same time, it's not going to increase the complexity of the algorithm anyway. So we just do one pass and then we're going to do the second pass. So nothing particularly special in there. So yeah, maybe I'm not going to overload the entire algorithm in here. We're going to have a separate function for this kind of stuff. So freeglyph.h, right, freeglyph.h, and it's going to be float. So the only thing it's going to accept, I suppose, it's going to be maybe FGB, because why not? And I do not plan to modify it, by the way. I do not plan to modify it. And we're also going to accept the text and the size of the text, right? Text size. So we also accept the position from which we're starting to actually render everything and the column, right? And then we're going to return the x coordinate. So the name of the function is going to be freeglyph, right? Freeglyph buffer cursor position, right? Maybe cursor pose, something like this. Freeglyph buffer cursor pose. Okay. Yep, and essentially it's going to do the same thing as the renderer, right? It will just iterate through the glyphs and tell us where exactly the cursor is placed. Fad Retini, thank you so much for 5 months of a tier 1 subscription, and welcome to our epic glyph club. How about that? Cheers, by the way. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so freeglyph, right? Freeglyph. Let's quickly implement this entire thing. So it's going to be very similar to the point that I think I'm going to copy paste this entire code. But the only thing we're going to do in here, by the way, is basically that, right? So we're going to do basically this thing. So we're just iterating, getting the metrics and advancing the position, and also if I equal to column, we instantly return position x. That's it. So that's the entire function. So we're just iterating through the glyphs, and that is basically it. Nothing much to say. Nothing much to say, mate. So now I can essentially calculate the x position, right? So maybe we're gonna have something like y. So here is y. So this is where we store y. But x is gonna be... Oh boy, x is gonna be interesting, I think. So we'll need to take the editor row, right, and then editor lines, So, and here is the line that we're trying to render effectively here. But the problem also is that the cursor may be bigger than the amount of lines we have, right? So we have to be super careful. So maybe we're gonna do it like this. So initially it's gonna be 0, right? Initially it's gonna be 0. And if editor cursor row is less than editor, I forgot how it's called. Is it called rows? It's called size, right? If it's less than size, we're going to grab this line that we want to render. So it's going to be editor lines like this. Here is the line that we want to render, and that's basically it. So I need to take the glyph, call this function. So I provide FGB, then I provide the text, which is the line characters. So where is the line? Yeah, it's basically line characters and line size. The position at which we're placing all of that, oh my god, okay. The position is calculated like this, I presume. It's calculated like this. Interestingly, it's the same as y. Right, so that means I can compute y upfront. I can compute y upfront and use y for the position. Vector 2f 0 y, and the column is editor cursor column, and this is going to be the new x. There we go. Why? Because the Greeks said so. Okay, so that looks all right to me. Let's see if it compiles. Control reaches. Okay, so that's something that we need to address for sure. Okay, so if at some point, yeah, we can just always return pose x in this case, right? Just always return. Seems to be working. Seems to be twerking. So we have a cursor. Yusu. That's pretty pogue, I'm not gonna lie. And this cursor works with non-monospaced fonts, by the way, so that was kind of the point, right? So it will work with any sort of like fonts and whatnot. Yeah. It cannot go further, which is fine, I guess. Yeah, it can go somewhere here, but then it will jump in here. So we can also remove some of this stuff in here. And now it looks pretty epic, right? So it does in fact looks pretty epic. Let's delete. Cursor blink. Yeah, we need to actually make it blink as well. You know what? It's actually super easy to make it blink, I think, because you can do that entirely on a shader. Right, so you go to the cursor fragment shader and you can literally do it in here. If you have an access to time uniform, float time. If you have an access to the time, we can try to do that. Yeah, we do have time. Okay, that's cool. Writing internal void with rainbow colors. Yeah. So how are we going to be doing all of that? We need... Okay, so we can think of the time like this. So here's the time and here is the time, right? And the time is just like this diagonal. Cool. So, but what if I actually make the time something like mod. Maybe it's to generate like some sort of a square wave. Go comes the backseaters. Then don't let me to concentrate as usual. Okay. It's trying to think of a solution, of course. Okay, so if we have something like n, right? So it's going to be mod n. So it's going to go up until like n, right? So here is the n. Right, and so that means it's going to be like a bunch of these things. A bunch of these things. So this is going to be 2n, 3n, and so on and so forth. If you have a time and you have a mode, so this thing, I think they have to be, you know, with a special color, like so. Right, so that's basically the value that we have in here. Right, so if you try to do it like that. Cool. But in reality, what I want to be able to do, I want to be able to determine whether the current n, so this is the 0th n, this is the first one, this is the second one, and so on and so forth. I want to determine whether it's even or not even one. So essentially, I don't really need a mod in here, right? So I need to do 10 n, and that way I can get either, yeah, so by doing that I get this first number in front of n effectively, I think, right? So but in this case it's going to be kind of like 0 1 2 3. So and then I can essentially just floor it, right? So I divide it by n, then I floor it. N is basically a period, by the way, a period of time. I floor it, and then I can check whether it's even or not, right? If it's even, I can turn it on. If it's odd, I can turn it off. So essentially, I can use this kind of like thing as a switch for turning on and off the color. So, and that sort of generates the square wave. So that's essentially what I want to do in here. Right, does it make sense? Hopefully. Okay, so we're going to have some sort of like a period in here. And period is going to be, let's say 1 second, right, for now, because it can be always adjusted however you want. Right, so you divide it like so, period. I have too many mosquitoes here. Okay, so then I can do floor. Right, so we floored it. And I want to convert it into an integer. I'm not sure if it's necessary in JLSL, but whatever. JLSL is a very strong language, so it will tell me if I do something wrong. Right, so then I divide it by 2, and then I can kind of multiply it by this entire thing. Right, so I can multiply it like that. And I wonder if it's gonna work or not. It's kind of interesting. So of course I think it has to be something like this. Alright, so it's compiling, it's doing things, taking some time. There you go. Interestingly, usually, right, when you're currently typing, it shouldn't do that, right? And you can control the period, right? So you can actually, so it's done entirely on the shader, right? So it could be actually half of the second if you want to. I don't have to even rebuild the whole application because it's part of the shader, right? And yeah, so it disappearing while it's blinking is not a good thing, right? So we need to probably do something like, so in Genie, right? The cursor is blinking, but while you're typing, it is not blinking, right? So it's not blinking while you're typing. So because of that, we'll have to do something special, I suppose. We need to pass some sort of like information. Whether we are currently typing or not. So the idea is the following. Last stroke contains the time since the last stroke. Right. And every time you make a stroke, that thing is updated with the current time. So on a shader, we can use this thing to determine whether you have to blink currently at all. Right. So maybe we can have something like last stroke interval, right? So, and that interval is going to be like around half of a second, right? If, so time is always the current time, we know that for sure. So if time minus last stroke is actually less than last stroke interval, maybe blink threshold. Yeah, so this is going to be blink threshold. If it's less than blink threshold, that means we always show the color. If that makes any sense, we always show that color. So that means if it's greater, we just show the color, right? Essentially. Okay, so we have a bunch of conditions in here, right? So here is the first condition. This is the first condition. And this is effectively the second condition, right? And what we're doing here, we're just doing OR between them, right? So, and the reason why I'm doing such a weird programming style is because I'm trying to avoid branches, right? So I could just do ifs and elses, but as far I heard, I'm not a graphics engineer, but I heard that they're slow and you want to avoid the you know, ifs in your shaders, unless you, like, it's absolutely necessary. So in this particular case, you don't really need to do that, but I mean, plus, I wonder if you can just do something like OR between them. I have too many maskees, what the fuck? Well, I mean, you probably can just do it like that. I don't know. I think I'm just overthinking this entire stuff. Do we even have a boolean here? I think boolean is a thing, right? So boolean must be a thing. So floor. Can I? Mod 2, maybe. So mod 2, can I convert it to a boolean? So I'm just thinking if this is gonna be a good idea generally. Right, can I do it like that? Hopefully. Alright, that's cool. If this thing is greater than blink threshold, that means it has to be less. Yeah. So that's why it works. Alright. So, and now, every time I type something, right, every time I type something, button left, button right, text input. So if the tile glyph renderer not defined, tile glyph renderer not defined, and if, right, tile glyph renderer, SR, I also need to, in the cursor renderer, I also need to add that uniform. Right, so it's gonna be cursor vert, cursor actually frag, I think. So last stroke, int last stroke uniform, right, last stroke uniform cursor.c. Right, so let's actually put this thing in here, cr last stroke uniform, jl get uniform location, cr program, last stroke, there we go. Okay, last stroke, and I'll have to do this kind of thing. So cursor renderer use cursor renderer use, and it's going to be cr cursor renderer. So it's going to be cr last stroke uniform gl uniform 1f, right? So then sdl get ticks, and we convert it to float, and we divide it by 1000 to convert it into seconds. Okay. So if I try to recompile this entire thing, is it going to work? Is it going to work? So this is not a pointer. This is not a pointer. So there's no semicolon, something. Let's fix that. Alright, so if I try to run this entire thing, so it's not blinking, but while I'm typing, it's not blinking. Right. So, okay, we probably should update last stroke every time you do something in an editor, which is rather interesting, right? So what constitutes the thing you're doing? I don't know. Maybe you have to do that every time you do any of the key downs. You know what I'm talking about? Text input and key downs should be fine. Well, I didn't recompile it, of course. Build.sh. Right, so it is blinking when I'm doing this. It is not blinking, which is nice. And I think the period actually could be smaller, right? Maybe a quarter of the second. Right, so it could be quarter of the second. Well, wait a second. I think I updated the wrong one, didn't I? Oh, it's a blink threshold. So stdh, and it's gonna be something like this. So that's pretty pogue, not gonna lie. Printf hello world, and I cannot jump there, but yeah, it's pretty pogue. So we also have clicks, which are completely incorrect, by the way. Or are they? Yeah, it's completely broken. And it's kind of difficult to do reminder clicks. Like, I don't know, it's kind of strange feature anyway. So, and I think one should be half of a second, maybe 75. It's kind of difficult to tell which one is better. We can also try to do something with the cursor, but I'm not really sure what to do. We can make it smoother. We can try at least to make it smoother, but I'm not sure if I'm interested in doing it right now. So because then smoothing things out has to play well with the blink threshold, right? It should play well with the blink threshold. But maybe that's not that big of a problem, if you know what I'm talking about. So, okay, so... I don't know how to call this thing. So I can introduce something like float c3, and in here we can try to do something like sine over time. Right, it's going to be sine over time, but sine is from -1 to 1, and we want something from 0 to 1. So it means we'll have to add 1, it gives us from 0 to 2, and we divide it by 2, and here we go, we have the thing from 0 to 1. Right, interesting enough, this thing will should be always 1 or not, right, depending on what's going on in here. And to combine them together, I think we can just do C1 plus C3 and clamp it essentially like this. All right, there we go. So we can try to do something like this. So we have two floats, and one of them always just basically indicates whether you have to blink at all or not, and another one gives you smooth, you know, wave. It gives you smooth wave, and if this one is turned on, the smooth wave is going to be cancelled out anyway, because the value will always be bigger than 1, and you can be bigger than 1, and so multiplication will work properly, hopefully. We'll see. And there's something wrong in here, so semicolon. Right, so 2, what does it say? It's 10, right? So float cannot be assigned to variable of type float, but can you just convert boolean to float? Apparently you cannot, which is rather interesting, I think. Yeah. So if we get rid of this entire thing completely, right, something like this, will that work? It has to be min. Okay, so that makes sense. And it takes actually a lot of time to like bring back. So I think because of that, oh yeah, because if it goes minus, yeah. What if we do something like sine and take the absolute value of sine? So that way it's gonna 0. Yeah, I think it's a little bit better. I think it's a little bit better. You think I don't know that I left C2? You really think I don't know? Okay. So for new people who just joined the stream, I really recommend to just sit and lurk, please. Please. All right. So this one is gonna be something like this. All right. All right, and if I'm typing, it is not actually changing anything. Right. So, and then this one is rather strange, right? So it's not like going really well. So another thing we can do there, we can try to speed things up, right? I don't like that it like makes a huge jump. I don't like that. It doesn't look good. So let's go actually back to here. And I think I'm gonna actually keep like everything in here as float, because I think the idea of you know, just clamping things like that is a little bit better. I think. Okay, 11. Oh, this one is rather, so maybe I can do mod 2. So I'm pretty sure I won't be able to do that thing because it's... Ah, okay. Let's see what's going An operator is only for that. For the full, for the this thing, we have something like this. I wonder if it's gonna work with just floors. Yeah, it seems to be working. Okay. Oh, I think I know how to fix that. So, do you guys know what's the problem there? Like I'm trying to solve. Do you guys understand the problem? I think we can try to reproduce it one more time. So this one is going to be C3, sine, yeah, phase shift. Thank you. This is actually a pretty good explanation. I'm really glad that somebody understands what's going on the screen. Right. Okay. It's really like refreshing when somebody makes like a really informed comment in the chat, understanding what the fuck is going on. It's just like so refreshing. Oh my god, people actually watch me. Thank you so much. Holy shit, that's what I need in my life. All right, so there's a phase shift in here, right? So, and I have an idea. I have an idea on how to fix that problem. Instead of using time for all of these things, for all of these calculations, right? We would use time minus last stroke to sort of adjust the phase. You see what I'm talking about? Right, so we can actually put this thing to here, right? So this is going to be t, right? And instead of time, literally everywhere, we're going to be using that value. And because of that value, it's not going to be like, you know, shifted, hopefully. Oh, it didn't solve anything. Okay, that's pretty sad. That's pretty sad. I wonder why. Is that because the last stroke was not set appropriately? There's something really strange going on. If probably we can actually get rid of this entire thing. Right, so it's gonna be C2. So the phase problem appears even with this version. Yeah, but now it actually does not appear. So, but with the sign, there is a little bit of sus going on for sure. There's a little bit of sus. Yeah, I like it. So this was the actually correct solution, right? So, and sign version, it doesn't really work well in my opinion. So I wish I could actually name them slightly differently, maybe. So this is a blink threshold. So this could be called something like blink. Right, blink. And this is the threshold. I don't know. Because I don't want to call them C1 and C2. I think it's kind of dumb. And T is basically time from the last stroke, essentially. The amount of time since the last stroke. And we're going to use that to synchronize all of the like phase shifts and whatnot. Yeah, so that's pretty good solution, I think. To be fair, it starts if I press any keys, it actually okay. So this kind of shit has to happen when you modify the state of the editor, I think. I don't think it's a thing in any other editor. Yeah, in any other editor, like, it does not do anything. Also, their period is actually way slower, so maybe we're gonna set 1 as the period, right? Actually, the period feels way slower. Maybe it's 1.5 of a second. Yeah. Okay. So essentially, we need to update the last stroke on any editor modification, right? So any editor modification, backspace. Yeah, so for now, I don't really know how to make it more convenient, right? I don't know how to make it more convenient, but so I'm just gonna copy paste this entire thing. So it's gonna be like that. So delete, but maybe, I don't know, the editor itself should tell us. The editor itself, what's the most convenient way to do that? We can basically inside of the editor store the last stroke value. That's the thing we can do actually. Yeah, like store the last stroke value, the last modification. And yeah, okay. So because that's the, like, editor has to be responsible for this kind of stuff, I think. But unfortunately, that makes the editor itself sort of dependent on SDL, because we're using SDL function to get the ticks. And I don't want to make it dependent on that, so it's kind of weird. Okay, so I'm gonna copy paste the code until I come up with a better solution, because I don't see it. I literally don't see it right now. Maybe it's gonna be more visible in the future, but for now it's just easy to do this thing. That's precisely what we're gonna do. Right. So we don't have to do that on every keystroke. That's what's interesting. It's not every keystroke. So on every keystroke it doesn't make sense. Okay. Left, right, text input, mouse buttons. This one is broken again, so I'm gonna actually remove this thing and never accept any contributions to this thing, because I keep breaking it and it's not really that useful. So, but maybe in the future we're gonna actually support that when we add selections and whatnot, right? Well, I didn't recompile this thing. Okay. Maybe not, but I don't know. Okay. So while I'm dating it, while moving around, so this seems, cool. So I think the threshold has to be smaller. So what about half of a second? Yeah, so I think it's perfect now. It feels all right. I cannot delete the lines, by the way. Printf, hello world. So everything looks okay. What is your plan for the editors? I explained my plans so many times that you can actually go to my YouTube channel and find the list, a playlist of all of the streams. Right, so if you have any questions about this editor, what's the goal, what's the purpose, what's the history, go to this YouTube channel, there's a playlist there, watch each and individual stream where we started to develop this thing from the scratch, and that will answer all of your questions. You're welcome. So I actually spend a lot of time every single day archiving all of the VODs so people don't have to ask these kind of questions. You're welcome. Okay. So, let's do a committee, I suppose. Let's do a committee. In every stream, at the beginning of the stream, I try to explain as much as possible of the context for you, the viewer, because I like you. And I archive everything just for you. See, everything is for your convenience. All right. No need to ask questions. Just watch. Just watch. I know that you won't, but it would be nice if you did. All right. So cursor. I think. So the camera location, yeah, so does not support the cursor, so we need to actually create this thing. 27, there we go. 27, add cursor rendering to free glyph, right, to free glyph. Yep, and let's push that right into the repo. And let's create a pull request. So this one is going to close 27. Cool. So this is the text editor. Window on load. Okay. So I think now the problem I was talking about should be apparent. So as we go more and more down, so look, the cursor is supposed to be centered at the center of the screen, but it gets offset ever so slightly over time, right? So and especially if you go down, right? Especially if you go down, and now it's not visible at all. This is because the camera is actually chasing a completely wrong position, right? It's chasing a completely wrong position, and I think it should be relatively easy to fix that, maybe even within the scope of the current issue. So I don't know if I want to do it right now. Why are there so many mosquitoes in here? Holy shit. Render tile glyph render. So where is the thing that we need to render? So the camera update. Camera update is happening in here, right? So, but that thing only makes sense within the tile renderer. Yes, so this is a purely tile renderer thing. So, and let's put this thing in here. So I'm gonna move this entire stuff right here. So we're only going to be updating the camera in the tile glyph mode, right? So this is going to be tile glyph mode. So if I recompile this entire stuff, if I recompile, so it doesn't really work properly anymore. So let's do something like this: editor dot editor like this. All right, and so okay, so and now the camera is not updating. Okay, but it should be updating in the tile glyph renderer, right? So if I enable tile glyph renderer, it should be updating. Oh, well, I mean, I need to recompile the whole thing, of course. Need to recompile the whole thing. So here it is moving, and specifically in that tile renderer, it is working all right. Oh, come on, I should have not rebuilt the entire thing. There's no need. Okay, no matter how much down I go, it's actually set like being centered properly, more or less. I mean, yeah, more or less centered properly. So now I need to grab this entire thing and move this entire shit in here. And I think we're going to be setting the camera position after we properly calculated the position of the cursor, right? So I'm going to put it somewhere here. Cursor position. Okay, so that one is very interesting. Maybe we can calculate the cursor position. Yeah, I think that's what we want to do in here. So I'm gonna define something like vec2f cursor position, vec2fs 0 f, right? So something like that. So then we can set y. I'm gonna literally steal this entire thing. This one is going to be cursor position y, so x is not going to be updated, and in here is going to be cursor position x. There we go. Yep. So, and in here we're going to do something like cursor position So, and here we're going to be resetting the camera. So cursor position, then cursor position, blah, blah, blah. All right, so I think that's going to be it. So here's the Y cursor, position Y, cursor position Y. Alright, so everything seems to be compiling, and a tile glyph render, I'm gonna actually comment it out. And let's see if it's gonna work now. So I'm gonna be going down. Yeah, so it's staying centered. But of course clicking things around is completely broken. Right, so yep, I'm not gonna even create an issue for that. All right. So the thing we're gonna do in the future, we're gonna add selections and stuff like that, but we'll see. So the mouse support is gonna be like a separate body of work, I think. It's kind of funny how it just jumps around. But yeah, so let's go. It's going to be dead. Yep, so I think we managed to do things. std.io, std.lib, and it's going to be something like that. Cool. So here cursor camera position is updated appropriately. More or less, it just jumps around, but okay, I guess that's fine. All right, so maybe it's gonna be a separate issue. I think it's big enough that I can actually put it into a separate issue. Everything seems to be compiling, so I'm gonna merge this entire stuff. So let's delete that. And let's create a separate thing. Will you use your IMHUI layer to make... I don't think so. So I don't like the IMGUI idea of being a very specific library. I think IMGUI is an approach. It's not a specific library. Because like it's really difficult to make immediate GUI library that is generally useful in every single situation, and such library tends to be overcomplicated, overgeneralized, overbloated, even though like IMGUI is smaller than Qt, for instance, but it's still bigger than it could have been if it was very specialized. So I think people should stop thinking about immediate UI as a specific library that you can slap into your program. It is not. It is general approach, and I feel like it needs to be implemented specifically for your application. Right. So I'm definitely not going to be using my thing in there. Is it possible to define the cursor width with the same width of the font character? I don't think so. I think we need to do a PhD research on that. All right, so yeah, I think we already merged everything, right? So yeah, already merged everything. So so camera location is broken, 28. Okay, so this one's gonna be 28. Fix the camera location and free glyph renderer. And I'm gonna push that thing right into the repo. General IMGUI library is useful, though, if you actually need a GUI toolkit, but it's kind of like very junky to use, I don't know. Especially when it comes to calculating IDs of the widgets, right? So it calculates ID of the widgets based on the like text labels and stuff like that, and you have zero control over how IDs are calculated. It's just like, it's like, it would be better if I just created my own one specialized for my case. And it's not that hard, by the way. It's not that hard to create immediate UI library. It's kind of the whole point of immediate UI libraries, of the immediate UI approach, is because it's super easy to implement it in your application. That was the whole point. Seriously. And people just whoosh, whoosh, as usual. I'm not even surprised. Yeah. So close 28. Alrighty, so we actually fixed 2 birds with 1 stone. That's cool. It's pretty pow, if I say so myself. But unfortunately, boys and girls, I don't want to stream for too long today. I didn't want to stream today at all, to be fair, because I'm really not in the mood. But I decided just to do that because I wanted to fix like these things in here. So I think I gotta go. So I'm gonna go. Thanks everyone who's watching right now. Really appreciate it. Have a good one, and I see you all next time. Tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow, maybe never. Maybe it's the last stream. Who knows? Maybe I'm gonna be so sick of Twitch that I don't want to stream anymore. Nah, we'll see. The winner gets tea, that's for sure. Check all of the links if you are watching on YouTube, right? So I put all of the links in here. Check the VODs channel where I upload all of my, not all of them, but you know the good ones, the good stream recordings. And maybe we should raid somebody. We haven't raided anyone for quite some time already. So is anyone doing anything epic on that damn science and technology section that is slowly turning into a circus? Well, why slowly turning? Epic. So is it somebody we could raid, or is just like generally? Sounds like it's somebody's name, but I think you just said it. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm stupid, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just a dummy. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Virgin Galactic. I can see like for the second time. Virgin Galactic something. So why everyone's talking about that? C++, but it's not English. Galactic Unity, C#. Kikomrat. I can see Kikomrat stuff. Richard Branson, Virgin CEO flew to... oh, Virgin is like the huge American company. Python, async.io, building Twitch chatbot, learning async stuff. What do you guys think? Should we raid the Python stream? I don't know. Random project. As far as I know, they don't have a mic, so I'm not sure if I want to raid them. But I saw the stream. They're actually doing some cool stuff. Python. I don't know. Let's raid Python. Python slow. Haha. Twitch chatbot learning async. They're learning though, so be easy on them.
I know of excellent engineers who are leads.
They know excellent engineers. I think that's raid worthy, right? I don't really know that many people who know excellent engineers, so I think we should raid them. What do you guys think? So yeah, so I think it's raid worthy. So I just need to wait until my Twitch loads up. Yeah, Twitch website would make a use of excellent engineers for sure to speed things up a little bit. So we do need more excellent engineers, I think. Twitch is bloated. You know what else is bloated? I'm sorry. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I was joking. I'm still waiting, so okay. Get ready for the raid, boys and girls. Get ready for the raid, and I see you next time. I love you all. Mwah.